If you'll take your seats, the symposium will be called to order. I have always been, as the governor appreciates, on the other side of the gavel. This time, I got to hit the gavel. So the meeting will come to order, the symposium. My name is Rich Barrett. I'm the organizer of Governor Mead's third annual symposium on suicide prevention. I've been a Wyoming lawyer for 40 years, and the last 4 as special counsel to Governor Mead. There are a couple of housekeeping matters that I'd like to address before we start. First, our distinguished keynote speaker, Lisa Klein, Los Angeles-based filmmaker, will be screening her powerful film, The S Word. The film lasts 1 hour and 32 minutes. It's a feature-length film. Immediately upon conclusion, Lisa will do a Q&A. That is going to push back what would be a typical mid-morning break to somewhere around 11, even maybe a little later. Because of that, if you need to get up and go out to the food and beverage or for any other reason, do not be bashful. It's all right. Secondly, I want to make sure that those of you who are looking for continuing education credits from your licensing boards know that we do have the desk out front where all the materials are available that you'll need to get credit. Now I'm pleased to introduce our friend Elk Sage. He is the Suicide Prevention Coordinator for the Northern Arapaho Tribal Health in Fort Washakie, Wyoming. Elk Sage is going to honor us with an opening prayer delivered in his native tongue. Elk Sage.
Good morning, everybody. I brought a guest with me. This is my father, Allison Sage, and he's from Ethiopia, Wyoming. I'm from Arapaho, Wyoming, and we're gonna share a prayer song with you this morning. But I wanted to say, that's it now, ba nito. Kakuni Neta Ina Kakuni Teanaha. And what I said is, my name is Thunder Hollering, and bless all of our relatives that are here, and bless the earth too. So I want to have my father say a few words about the song that we're going to sing.
Yaket. We're going to sing this Eagle song, and we're going to ask all of you to pray along with me in your minds as we sing the song, because we all know someone that's hurting, that's having a hard time, that's thinking about taking their lives. And it happens to us every week at our home on Wind River. So this song says, Niahi Hauna Nia Babithania. The meaning of that song, it says, Eagle, pity us. Help us be pure. Help us be honest. Watch over us.
you.
Thank you, Elk Sage. We're going to hear more from Elk Sage and his father this afternoon. It was 3 years ago that Governor Mead decided to hold his first symposium on suicide prevention. That symposium was held in Casper at the Ramkota. Early the next year, Governor Mead announced to the legislature in his State of the State address that he was making the symposium an annual event. And now here we are for the third annual symposium on suicide prevention. And it's the largest. It is my honor to introduce the Honorable Matthew H. Mead, Governor of the great state of Wyoming.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Have a seat. Good morning. Thank you. I really don't know what it means that the lights went off. Usually when I'm getting ready to speak, the lights stay on, the sound goes off. I don't know. Today's different. Well, welcome. Thank you all for being here today. And I know all of you have busy schedules and many things that call your attention. But simply stated, we're here today to try to save lives. So thank you for being here, each and every one of you. As Rich said, began hosting this symposium about 3 years ago, and this is the third. And while it's dangerous business these days to get into talking about crowd size, I would point out that this is by far the largest, and we have it on good information. This is the largest suicide event or conference that has ever been held in Wyoming. And so I congratulate each and every one of you for being here today. I do have some special thanks to this morning. First, I want to thank Lisa Klein. Lisa, we are so pleased to have you here and look forward to your film. And some conferences have awards for the longest traveled. We don't, but thank you for being here very much. And we're eager to see your film and to have you answer some questions. I also want to thank Robert Jarash, President of the Wyoming Bar Association, and the bar staff for bringing the symposium to the attention of Wyoming lawyers. It's a very important issue for our Wyoming bar. I appreciate very much his outreach. And I want to say a special thanks to Rich Barrett, who you just heard from. Rich, I don't know, you said that people shouldn't feel bad about leaving. I say, don't leave, don't leave. I really want to thank you, Rich. When I tasked you with addressing this issue for my office in the state of Wyoming, you took it on not only as you always take on every job with great care, but you have great enthusiasm and passion. And it's a tribute to your efforts of the many people that are here. So Rich, thank you very much for your work. So when I first came in office and I started looking at the numbers of suicides in the state of Wyoming, I decided that I was going to make an effort to move the needle and improve the situation in the state of Wyoming. And when I announced that, shortly after that, a reporter came into my office and asked a very good and fair question: what are the things you need to do to address that in the state of Wyoming? And I will tell you that I don't know that I had answers. I don't know that I had many answers, but I did know this: that the first part of finding a cure is get a correct diagnosis. And Wyoming, ladies and gentlemen, has a suicide problem. And we've long had a suicide problem. Year in and year out, we're one of the worst states in the country in terms of suicide. And I also knew this, that while I may not have the answers, I knew that what was not the answer, and it was not the answer to keep quiet. It was not the answer for the state of Wyoming who retired our quality of life, not to address a serious, serious problem in our state. So I wanted to make some noise. I wanted to find so many of you that work on this issue many days of your lives. I wanted to find experts who could help us find the answers in the state of Wyoming. And here we are. Here's the diagnosis. It's the 6th leading cause of death for all ages. It's the 2nd leading cause of death for ages 15 to 44 in Wyoming. One person on average dies by suicide every 2 days. As I said, the suicide rate in Wyoming has historically been among the highest in the country. In grades 6 to 12, our youngsters, 20%, 1 in 5, considers suicide, and 10% report attempting suicide in a 1-year period of time. 10%. 1 in 5 think about committing suicide. For every suicide that's reported, there are 6 to 32 people affected by the loss. These are family and friends, the survivors who live with a range of complex grief reactions, including guilt. This particular statistic, 6 to 32 people affected by the loss, I don't really like, because I think it's much greater than that. In small Wyoming, when a town has a suicide, my observation is it affects the whole town, and indeed affects the whole state of Wyoming, because we are close. With our small population, every suicide not only hurts those family and friends, it hurts our community, and it hurts our state. So it's a difficult thing for people to discuss, suicide, but it's essential that we do. There is no solution keeping this in the dark. There is no solution in keeping quiet. The more we talk and learn about it, the better we maybe recognize the warning signs and possibly save a life. In 2017, with state revenues down several years in a row, suicide prevention funding was cut. It was one of many cuts the state budget made. So on my last day of the state, I said to the legislature, the cuts were too deep. And I'm pleased to report the legislature listened and they acted, putting more money to suicide prevention. And I hesitate to say that there is positive news, but I at least want to say there's at least not worse news. While the national suicide rate has risen 24% over the last 2 decades, Wyoming's suicide rate has remained flat during that period. Like I said, I'm not sure that's good news. It's just not more bad news. The most recent statistic from the Centers for Disease Control indicate Wyoming has dropped from having the highest suicide rate among states. Again, is that good news? We're number 3. We've got a long ways to go. We hope our work is starting to make a difference. In the last 6 years, more than 1,500 suicide prevention trainings have been conducted in Wyoming. Lisa, to get a sense of how significant that is, our state has a population of 580,000 people. Just to give you a different perspective than California. 45,000 Wyoming citizens have been trained to recognize suicide warning signs. More than 44% of those who've taken suicide prevention training say they have used it to help individuals in crisis. It makes a difference. Those 45,000 people, 44% of them have had an opportunity to use what they learned to help somebody in crisis. I'm really proud of the program Safe to Tell. The Safe to Tell program in Wyoming, which has been championed by our Attorney General and the Attorney General's office, has proved effective. It began in 2016. It's a statewide tip line for confidential reporting of school safety concerns, including suicide threats. The highest number of reports have been suicide threats. Calls, web, and mobile app reports are answered 24/7 by our Wyoming Highway Patrol Communication Center, and follow-up occurs as needed and appropriate. This program gives schools a way to address safety concerns, and it saves lives. Just in the last few weeks, Safe to Tell was used successfully to intervene to help an elementary student who is planning to commit suicide. A classmate reported troubling signs via the tip line. The school followed up. The student confirmed planning on his attempt to take his life. Today, the student is in treatment and doing better. From this latest incident to others like it, the value of Safe to Tell is apparent. Perhaps all of us can learn from his success And perhaps we can find a way to apply it beyond our school system and apply it all across the state of Wyoming. I know, and you all know, that suicide doesn't just affect somebody else. No one is insulated from it. It touches us all directly or indirectly. Men, women, children, relatives, friends, coworkers, young and old, every walk of life. And in fact, 144 of our fellow citizens committed suicide in Wyoming last year. Some of these people we knew, or we knew people who knew them. In our small populated state, the tragedy indeed touches us all. We cannot sit on our hands. And so, as I sit here, or as I stand here today before you, in my last opportunity to be present, or at least a speaker at this symposium, I do have an ask for all of you. While next year I will just be a citizen, I will always remain somebody that has been affected by suicide. As many of you in this room have lost friends to suicide. And as you lose somebody close to you to suicide, the questions are endless. What should I have done? What could I have done? And it's so important in this state where we tout our quality of life that we recognize to have quality of life, you have to support those who need help. We as a state of Wyoming have to recognize that while we may not have all the answers, and not talking about it, not pursuing better days ahead is not an answer. So my ask for all of you is that with your advocacy, with your push, that while I will no longer be governor next year, that we, and I mean all of us, continue this effort. That next year the conference is bigger. And between now and then, it's not just about conferences, it's about making a difference. I believe Wyoming, because we are small, when we put our minds to something, we can make a difference. And is there anything better to make a difference in than saving lives? Thank you very much for being here. God bless you. Thank you. We have a surprise for you this morning, and it's my pleasure to introduce the Cheyenne Chamber Singers. They will perform Please Stay, a moving suicide prevention themed song. This is a surprise this morning and a welcome addition to the agenda because the group's availability to perform only became known recently. John Nepper, Wyoming's Chief Deputy Attorney General, is a member, and I appreciate his part in bringing the performance to us today. Sean Ambrose is the music coordinator for Lemery School District Number 1. He is the conductor. Thank you very much. So Sean, John, Cheyenne Chamber Singers, thank you for sharing your musical gifts and this special song with us today. We look forward to hearing from you.
Governor Mead and guests, we are very honored to be here today. The Cheyenne Chamber Singers is an adult audition group made up of people from throughout our community, and we are pleased to be presenting this song for you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background information here. Jake Runstad is a young composer in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, and this piece was written and adapted from tweets using the hashtag #IKeptLiving. Some of you may be familiar with that. There's another hashtag that is out there called Reasons to Stay. So this piece is all about those folks that made the choice to stick around. Towards the end of this, we will be uttering some statements that are taken directly from the hashtag #IKeptLiving. And there may be people in this room who feel the need to affirm themselves or their friends or family, and you would be welcome to do so. You'll hear us make some statements, and after Captain Hinkle says the last one, if there's anyone in the room that either silently or very verbally wishes to affirm anyone, you would be welcome to do so in our final mantra of this, of please stay. I also need to introduce our soloist for this number, Captain Hinkle of the Wyoming Military Department.
Don't let your worst day be your last. The storm has come, but it will pass. You think you can go on another day, but please stay.
Let your words stay before us. The storm is strong, it will pass. You think you can go on. But please
Please stay. I have moved someone else.
It's okay to be a work in progress.
Sharing your feelings does not make you weak.
I decided to ask for help instead of going through it alone. It was hard as hell, but I kept living.
One person took the time to listen and understand. Sometimes that's all it takes.
beautiful affirmation of life, the Cheyenne Chamber Singers. Thank you. As Governor Mead said in his opening statements, we are honored to welcome Lisa Klein. She is an award-winning filmmaker whose work has played at world-renowned film festivals. That includes Sundance, Toronto, and Tribeca. Lisa is a Michigan native, a native of Detroit. She studied film at the University of Michigan. She moved to Los Angeles and earned a graduate film degree at the University of Southern California. She and her husband co-founded Mad Pix Inc., a Los Angeles-based production company. In 2012, Ms. Klein co-directed the film Of Two Minds, a journey into the lives of remarkable people living, struggling, and triumphing with bipolar condition. Today, Lisa Klein brings us her current project, The S Word, a documentary that examines suicide prevention through emotional stories of suicide attempt and lost survivors. One note of interest among so many in her powerful documentary, Craig Miller, our keynote speaker last year, our friend from Massachusetts, who brings his incredible story of survival, is heavily featured in Lisa Klein's The S Word. So you'll recognize him right away. Lisa will introduce her film, and then the film's going to roll. At the conclusion of the film, she will immediately take question and answers. Please welcome, with a big, warm Wyoming welcome, Lisa Klein.
Hello. Thank you so much, Governor Mead. Thank you so much, Rich, for inviting me here today. Can I take a picture of you all real quick? Okay. That's what I do. That's what I do. So I'm going to, okay, now it's taking a second. Okay, so I've been doing this now. I've been traveling with the film for almost a year. So you would think by now I had like a decent kind of introduction. I don't. So, because it's really difficult. It's like, okay, so here's our film about suicide and joy. But I want you to, because there is humor and there is, you know, it's humanity. So I want you, okay, now I got it. Okay, I'm gonna do that. And yeah, so I'm really, really, really excited to talk to you guys after the film, and I'll let the film speak for itself. Thank you so much. Thank you.
The only direction I really give them is to look into my lens.